Welcome everybody to the March 2025 Town Hall. Got some big updates for you this time, including getting started with discussing the new infrastructure with Oracle and Google Cloud for the UK at first, and then looking at a module that Devon from Enginate has done a quick video of, and he'll present in the later session, US time. Have a look at that for comments, and then an update on where we are with improvements to. Oh, sorry. Before that, look at admin menu customization, a feature we released back in February. Devon mentions it in his video actually, and they're using it for that project. It'd be interesting to hear how anybody's getting on with it, what use cases you found it useful for, any questions in terms of how to get the most out of it. But it's a really powerful feature in terms of being able to fully customize the what people see at the back end of Siteglide. Then an update on the sort of site builder studio improvements that we've been working on. Got some interesting updates there, just a progress update effectively. And then just a reminder of the new roadmap tool and making sure that everybody's happy with it and can help give us the feedback that we need and an update on where we are with some of those items. So yeah, I'll get cracking. A bit to cover there. Yes, so first off, on the infrastructure side of things, the main point is that there's no changes from your side. We want it to be as seamless as possible as of next Tuesday, 1st of April. If you want to put a site live on the UK data center, it would go onto the new Oracle and Cloudflare stack. And I'll explain more of that in a second. But effectively, there'll be no change, and we just want to make everything as seamless as possible for you guys, because obviously you just want to be able to carry on building and not have any real changes. There are some huge benefits for the future that we're going to look at, and I can give you a sort of sneak peek of those, but at the moment we just want to make it really easy and seamless. So I'll just pull up the page. We released an article on it in when we sent out the invite email for Town Hall, but let me just share my screen. So yeah, there's this blog post on the website just explaining the new infrastructure. So effectively, Platform handle the DevOps side of the platform as always, and they help ensure that all the DevOps is just behind the scenes. We don't have to worry about it in terms of reliability, flexibility, performance, and security. And you'll just notice in one of their graphics, they're agnostic in terms of cloud provider. So up until now, we've only been using AWS. They have had Google available, but Oracle have proved to be the sort of best long-term and future provider. So we now have a live dedicated Siteglide stack on Oracle, and using Cloudflare for the CDN side of things to manage DNS and content delivery network. So yes, we'll start with the UK stack. Any new sites from next Tuesday will go onto Oracle, and it'll be seamless in that sense. And then we can discuss and start looking at migrations of existing sites, but want to get up and running with new sites first, show you that there's no change there. But that's obviously something we can come back to and look at. And then we'll be looking at launching the US and Australia data centers as well. So I think those are probably the main points to make. There's this article that we'll make sure we share again that explains the basics of it. Any immediate questions on this? It's obviously quite new. We're trying to make it completely seamless, but I'm sure maybe have any questions.
Yeah, just wondering, obviously we're using, as you've done, Cloudinary currently. Obviously,
Yes.
until we switch, everybody will have to maintain that. But this will effectively, using Cloudflare, we won't require Cloudinary. And I guess the second question on from that is where we've got all our Cloudinary URLs and in a site, will there be a some kind of tool to switch those back to the new, or how will that work differently with new sites? I guess under Cloudflare.
That's a That's a good question. The answer to that is still we've still got to work that out. We've been focused on getting the stack launched like for like at the moment, so that when
Mm.
you go across, nothing changes. But yes, one of the big benefits of moving to Cloudflare is that we're going to be able to benefit from a feature that Cloudflare has called transforming images or optimizing images via URL. So that's a dynamic way of loading the images differently. So that's something I can just quickly demo that. So we have a site live on the new UK stack. That's this site here. You'll see every staging URL going forwards will be at first uk-siteglide.com and then US and au-siteglide.com as the staging URL. And then obviously you've got your production domains as normal. But what you can do is when you upload an image, you can then essentially customize the URL and the settings. So looking at this one here, we can change the width. So this is just for a thumbnail, but you can totally control things like the width. You can do all sorts of things with it. If you want to, you could blur it. Let's just put that in just to prove the point. You've got total control based on the settings that Cloudflare offer. To answer your question, Nick, we are working out how to best make this accessible. Obviously, we've got the asset URL, of just how best you would control and leverage these settings. But it works out of the box. It's already live and working thanks to Cloudflare. We need to confirm the best way to go about it to serve those images. And then, yes, if you're already using something like Cloudinary, we definitely will need to help. I mean, we've got sites that use that as well, so we'll need to look at how best to handle migration away from Cloudinary to the native Cloudflare route. As I've said, current focus has just been getting everything working exactly the same. I think it's probably, I imagine you'll probably want to get like a site live on the new stack as a priority before delving into new things. Let's try and make sure that you sort of get using the new stack first, and then we look at improvements.
So, and in terms of, sorry, Sean, go on.
So we've got a site probably going live Thursday or Monday, depending on the client. So it'll be able to push that, because there's no point pushing that to AWS if it's going to go to if it's then going to switch. And okay, so that's all right. So I just need to let you know that's going to happen, and you'll be able to help us.
We do that manually for you. It'd just be a manual. So we've got the whole process working, obviously, for Tuesday to switch it over, but we'll just push it through manually. We've picked 1st of April, obviously, first of a month. It's a week after the town hall when we've been able to discuss any feedback. Now we're ready to do it, but we just wanted to give you guys a week to sort of raise anything and get ready.
Cool. So what happens to all the old sites? Have they migrated automatically? Sorry, have they migrated automatically to the new stack, or?
So the site copy feature that we currently use for copying, backup sites or copying from site templates, that's essentially been used by Platform OS across stacks. So they've got site copy working so that it does all of the heavy lifting. Obviously, the biggest lift still, or the biggest thing that would need to happen if you're going to migrate a site, is DNS. And we appreciate that there are scenarios where, let me just stop sharing for a second so we can discuss. In some cases, the client might control their DNS and not want to do that, but hopefully you would be able to just do a site copy, and when you're happy with the site, just switch the DNS over, and effectively that's the only work to be done.
And is so if we decide actually just to leave everything where it is, AWS will carry on working?
It will, yes. I mean, there'll be many benefits over time to move everything across, and we'll want to encourage that. So
I'm just trying to avoid a whole repeat of BC to Siteglide migration again, which was an absolute nightmare.
We won't put that load on you. So
All
site copy will do the work. The only bit that we can't really do is the DNS. So we will make it as easy and as yeah, we'll make it so that you'll want to move everything across. There will be enough benefits to do that. We'll make it easy, and then you've just got to be able to manage the DNS side of things.
So how's the DNS going to work? Is it going to work differently, or is it still the same on the back of the site, or are you utilizing the DNS on Cloudflare, or how we?
Yeah, so it uses Cloudflare, but we and PlatformOS have got it seamlessly working the same way at the moment. So you would do site copy to new stack when we make that available. You would, when you're ready, so that will go into production. When you're ready, you would add the domain. Currently on Shared Stack, you can't add, let's say you're moving a site from one site to another on Shared Stack, you can't add the domain on the new site because it's already on the old site. It can't be on both. Because this is a completely separate stack, you can add the domain twice effectively. So you can add it on the new one, which is quite handy for being able to get all of your DNS records and everything set up. So you can literally get the new version all ready to go. And all you would do is switch the name servers if it's fully delegated, or switch the CNAMEs if it's external.
Okay. Thank you very much.
That should be the only work to do. That's we know that we need to make it that simple. And yeah, we've got it all planned out for that. We just obviously need to start the ball rolling on migrations. But it makes sense to give you access for new sites first, I think. In terms of it being, nobody wants a repeat of BC or having been forced to do anything. It's going to be a case of it being a seamless, quick transition and the benefits of doing so. Whether you need to pitch that to your customer or not is up to you really. At some point you might say, look, it's just an improvement that we're doing and we'll do it for you, or it might be that you're trying to leverage some of the benefits. But yeah, we'll keep discussing as we go. So as of next week, you'll be able to put them live yourselves. We'll do any for you in the meantime, and then I think as you start using it, we'll be keeping. We'll update you with any changes, any benefits, that kind of stuff, and start looking at migrations. If anybody would like to, once you're up and running, anybody would like to be a guinea pig for, well, not a guinea pig, but if anybody would like to start looking at site copy and doing migrations, let us know, and we'll run through that with you directly.
Yeah, I think I'd like to get, before I start migrating sites across, I'd get this new one gone across.
Exactly.
But then I'd also like to get the image tools in a more user-friendly way so we can sell that as a benefit to the clients. Because the amount of clients who ask, oh, can you not reduce the size automatically? Can you not do this?
Exactly.
We can get that on the front end or the back end of Siteglide, and having tools on there that people can then click on for an image editor, say. But the leverage is Cloudflare. That's an amazing benefit for them. And it's like, well, actually, this will save you. This will increase your site speed. This will do this. This means you can do more stuff with your images. Then that's obviously a benefit, and it makes it a lot easier to sell than just, oh, we're upgrading the stack, because nobody understands what that is.
And if there's no benefit, then exactly.
Why should my site be down for 3 or 4 hours while you mess around, and there's no benefit to me apart from that. So yeah.
That's good. It's good to hear, because that's the way we've looked at it as well. Like, I think image optimization is a really tangible benefit for everybody, really. So it's probably the one to focus on. Yeah. Good. Any other questions on new stack, on new sites going live, anything like that?
I might have missed the beginning. Sorry, I was late. When's the Australian dates planned, Luke?
We've just started with the UK at the moment. So that officially launches next Tuesday for new sites. We're then going to start looking at migrations for people that want to, getting sites across. As that's as we're a little bit further down the line with that, we would start opening up the US and Australian data centers and do the same process effectively. So no datas yet, but there's no real reason to delay. We're ready. We just need to get the first one rolling, and then we'll follow behind. I think this year is obviously there's no reason why it wouldn't be this year. I think we all want it sort of happening within weeks and months, really.
Right, thank you.
Obviously, if we have these tools like image optimization, we want everybody to be able to benefit from that. So the sooner we have the benefits, the sooner it makes sense to have the slick process to go live and migrate.
As long as we don't break too many things, Liz will be okay.
You can be the guinea pigs.
Yeah, you know.
We are very good at breaking things.
Make sure you get all that sorted.
Good. Yeah, so I mean, it was just really to announce that this time there'll be lots more as we all work together on it, and I can't stress the opportunity enough. It's having our own completely dedicated stack and infrastructure means that we can do just so much more with it. So leveraging tools like Cloudflare and some of the Oracle benefits, but also starting to look at things that would benefit Siteglide as a whole, and therefore you guys and customers. We've just got total flexibility of how we do everything, really. So yeah, lots more to come thanks to this this move. Good. Okay, well, I'll give myself a little break for a second and play a video that Devon's put together on their new comments module. Just to double check, does anybody have any further questions on new stack stuff? I know it's quite important. Okay. I'll just pull up this video. Please shout if you can't hear anything. I'm pretty confident you should be able to. All right. I'll just play the video and then we can talk through it.
No audio just yet.
No audio?
No.
Apologies. Sorry, 1 second. That's probably a bit hasty. Let's, there we go. You have to press first. 1 second.
Hey there,
Is there audio now?
Yeah, that's working.
this is Devon Reel from Engine8. I just wanted to do a quick demo of a commenting module that we built on Siteglide, a custom module. So we have this bulletin board on a site that is largely secure zone driven. So people are logging in, it's a community. I'm logged in here as a community member. I can post different bulletin board items. And you can see, like, I posted this one about the bike. And different, well, actually someone else did that, but you can see various items listed here. And if you go into an item, there's comment thread below, and they wanted their community to be able to comment through. We looked at various ways to do this with third-party tools. Previously, people did this with like Facebook comments, which isn't great anymore. Discuss is another alternative that costs a little money to be ad-free and also requires them to create like a separate login to use it and moderate and stuff like that. So this is nicely integrated right into Siteglide. You can write comments and they get posted right away. If you're beginning a thread, you're automatically subscribed to the thread, which means you get email notifications when there's a new comment. You can also choose to subscribe. So if you came here to this thread and you thought it was interesting, you can just click subscribe and you'll get an email notification. Email notifications look like this, very similar to Site Gurus. And then reply takes you into this the place where the conversation is happening. There's also quite a bit of moderation available. So if we go into the admin side of this, this is a custom module, and here you can view comment threads by content type, either by web app or page. So I can come in here, I can view the comments that are here, I can delete them if I need to. as a moderator. I can also go to the comment stream, which is a continuous stream of all the comments that have happened in the system at all. And I can either click into them, which would open the actual place where the comment happened, or I can just delete them from here as well. It also has a refresh button, so if you've had the window open, it'll pull the most recent ones. And then settings-wise, it's nice. There's different layouts. You can have as many layouts as you want for like what the comments actually look like, what it looks like when there's no comments. There's available liquid tags in here. And then there's also a whole template area for email notifications themselves. You can modify those as needed, and you can create as many of those as you want and then assign them in the page. So you can create a new one here, et cetera, et cetera. You can also decide not to send emails. That's an option as well. So there's a lot of options here. And then for our customer, just to showcase one more thing, our client's going to be doing some moderation, during, some editing via the admin, but we didn't want them to have access to everything. So we could use user roles to kind of lock some things down, but we're using custom admin menus. So when they log in, they see this. And so they see a very limited sort of selection of items in the left column, including their comments. And that's just a really nice, clean way to control what people can and can't see, depending on their user level as a client. So we really like this. It's a nice way to bring things together and a fully integrated solution into Siteglide. If you want to know more about this, kudos to Josh and the Siteglide crew for helping get this launched and designed and built. And if you have questions about it, or if you want to install it on a site, please reach out to me. Thank you.
Oh, any questions for anybody on that? It's quite a good example of a few. Sorry,
just trying to think of a use case at the moment, because when people do ask for, can we have comments on, and we're like, actually, really, do you want to allow people to have free reign to post stuff on your site? It's not necessarily a good thing. So we generally go down the web app route, where they put a comment, then it gets moderated, then it gets posted on the site after somebody's done it. So I can see,
I think it suits portals quite well. Anything where you're logged in users and community side,
Yeah, it looks really good. Very similar to what I was talking to you about for Discover Bulgaria, Luke and Josh.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, very helpful for a community site in that respect. So, especially as we're all talking about coming off of Facebook and not using it anymore.
Yeah,
they're around together now.
And the custom admin, I don't know if everybody knows that at the end, but has anybody used custom admin in that kind of way yet? Or
not had a chance.
I know the feeling. Cool. I'll mention that quickly just so that everybody's aware, because sometimes, as you say, when you're busy, it's easy to miss certain things and certain features. So I'll just quickly run through that. It's probably one of the most powerful features we've launched in a while, just in terms of like how Siteglide can be used and customized to whoever's going to be logged in, especially coupled with user roles. So I'll just very quickly show that feature. Just one second. Too many things open. So there's another thing I want to check actually, if I just hopefully I've shared it correctly. We've got a new area on the new roadmap for releases, which is effectively changelog, and it will list. We've only used it for the first one, which is the admin menu customization, and you can click through to those and read it. But you should be getting email notifications about this, and we'll make sure that we put the release in Discord as well and link to it. But apologies if people didn't get the notification on this. I'm still unclear whether it did go out properly. But yes, so it's a feature where effectively in admin you can go to this admin menu editor area and you can customize what people see. So there's a whole documentation on how to do it on our docs and explaining like what the different options are. But effectively for now it's a JSON only way of managing it. Obviously, we can make that a UI in the future, but we just wanted to get it out there and let people use it. But you can effectively just customize what everybody sees. I just go into the site quickly, what everybody sees in this left-hand column. And as Devon showed, he completely changed it to just show a few top-level items. Any questions on that feature at all? Okay. Right. I think we'll jump into the next thing then. Apologies. Yeah, sorry, Josh. Sorry, Nick. I missed your message, but appreciate you had another meeting to jump onto. Good. So I think next up, and pretty much lastly, is looking at our updates to Studio and Site Builder. We showed ideas on this effectively back in December. But just to sort of summarize where we are with this and why it's a focus, we recognize that Studio effectively can't currently handle dynamic content. It just lists like the liquid include, and generally visual code editors break things. It's just pretty much all of them out there will break stuff. They'll either write bad code or at some point something will look broken. And even if they don't do that generally, I think you've always got the sort of worry of will it break, and then having to go into the code or the customer having to get you guys to fix it or whatever it might be. And we've never been too happy with that situation really. Back in 2012 when we started Siteglide, our vision was to separate content from code. We've had that phrase all along, and we got it right. Well, we've done it with web apps. So obviously web apps really do separate content from code. You just fill in the content in the fields and the layout handles the output. But we've never really had that for pages. And we've ended up seeing, we've done it, and I'm sure you guys have done it, where you've tried to use a web app to do what really a page should do. And you've had to be very structured with the web app when actually you want to be a lot more free flowing and allow the customer to control the content, whatever that might be. So the answer to that is structured content. That's also a very big topic right now with bringing things like AI into the equation. If you structure your content, you can do a lot more with it and just use it far more powerfully. So we're using JSON and YAML to control how content can be structured. And with our new site API that's coming just around the corner as well, that's another endpoint that you can have access to and start to do even more things via API, knowing that you've got structured content. So I'll show a quick demo, but I wanted to give the sort of behind the scenes concept really, why it's more of a fundamental change without actually our challenge was still to make it fit into core Siteglide and not have massive changes to workflow or functionality or anything like that. So I'll just pull up my screen. Just quickly showing current Studio for context for anybody that's not too familiar. So the example here is, yes, there's a static section, and yes, you can edit the content, and that's okay. But there are times where that would break, and there are times where it's going to write code for you. And we've never really believed in that. Having verbose code behind the scenes is not good for essentially Google and SEO, but it's also not good for site management over time. Like, it makes your life harder if you're having to go in and fix code that you haven't written. And then obviously the other big issue is dynamic content. Because this effectively isn't the rendered version of the page, you're having to see the liquid version, and that's just not very user friendly to work with. So moving on, just introducing one more thing and showing how we've tied it all together. If we quickly look at Site Builder, not everybody uses Site Builder, but it's a great way to build out sites quickly and easily by having the sort of predetermined design and layouts available, but with the functionality baked in as well. So taking this one, for example, it's a team layout where it's already using the author's web app and outputting those items. We quickly just go to testimonials. Both these are two different list views of the testimonials module, and by adding that to your site, it will set all of that up with the right liquid and layouts to just make that work. So you will see your items appear on the page. Now the problem where it is to date is you have to come to Site Builder to do this. You add it to your site, and then you have to go back to Pages. You have to insert it. Then you can't work with any of that liquid because the visual editor, the studio editor, can't handle it. Doesn't render it. So it's all been a bit clunky up until now, and we've had the underlying architecture right, but we haven't made the experience in the UI good enough. So that's what we've been working on fixing. This is not like a complete fundamental change to how you do things. It's just a new way of pulling it all together into one place. So I want to give you an update and demo of where we are. So this is the new version, new editor and builder, effectively. Still trying to work out what to call it and how to explain it, but I think that's something over time you guys can maybe give us some feedback on. But essentially one UI, I'll just minimize, make it wider, one UI where you can create pages and jump between pages without leaving. The idea here being that the more we can put in one UI, the less training there is for customers, the less having to have prior knowledge of the platform. It'll be a lot more intuitive and easy to use. So we're on the home page. Just loaded that up. This section here is a rendered version of the page. So this is literally, if I press the I, it'll show you the front end of the page, and it is exactly the same because it is a rendered version. So you're not editing here. Let me just let Nick back in, I think. You've got tools to see it in different responsive formats. It's quite handy. You can actually do your own breakpoints on that as well to see it scale. And some tools for undo, redo, and maximize, those kind of things. But then the most important point is when you come over to the right-hand side, everything is section based as we've had it in Site Builder before, and effectively you're editing content, not code, which is what we've wanted all along. So if we come over to here, find new title, it'll let you type everything in, and then it will update after a few seconds or clicking off. So the customer cannot, or whoever's doing it, cannot break this layout. They can't break the code. They're not writing code. They are filling in structured data, effectively, a variable, and I'll show you a layout in a second. So very simple types of content, static content like this. You've effectively just got control over what the section author wants you to control. So in this case, it's just the title, the content, and the imagery. This all hooks up to File Manager, and we can go and grab a picture, drop that in there. And then there's a section called blocks, which is effectively things like buttons. Again, the section author, whoever's creating this, might be you guys specific to a site. It might be you building out your own library of templates and sections, can control what appears here. So I can add another button effectively and customize the content in there. There's also a settings tab. Again, this can be really expanded on later or anytime really, where you can control how that layout that section can be customized. So at the moment, something obvious like switching the alignment, but there'd be so much more that you could add into the settings. I'll try and show everything, I think, and then discuss any questions, but I'd like to show a more interesting type of layout now. So that was just purely static. That's just literally a call to action or static piece of content. What I'd like to show now is an example of how you could manage a team section. So exactly the same, where you've got the title and the content, and you can customize that. Same with blocks. You've got this feature called lists. So this allows you, if I just delete that for a second, there's nothing in the list, but the layout is ready to receive structured content. So if we create an item, yeah, I mean, it's got a name in there already. but I'll just show that we're updating it. Apologies, my layout, I've broken my layout on this one, but we can just prove the point. There you go. So there's the name. And if we add another item, so then you can just add multiple items, manage your content, and this is all static content. So you're not having to use a web app or anything to manage this. And it's a nice way if, say, you've got like a team, you're building a site for a client with a team of 3 people, it doesn't make sense to build a web app necessarily. Just if you're outputting this in one place, you would just create this this static layout with structured content. But if you then do decide to build as a team, or you've already got the team web app, you can click this button. Oh, sorry. And then you can pick your data source. At the moment, this is only showing web apps, but this will show modules and any other kind of dynamic content. But at the moment, just to prove the point, I can then pick that I want it to be the gallery web app, and I can map my fields. So just mapping quite obviously which fields you'd want for each one. We've now got that running off dynamic content. So rather than having to go and build a list view for your web app, you've essentially already done it. You've picked a static layout and made it dynamic. And if we just refresh, so if we just go down here, that's that section. And if we refresh the page, it's already saved with that layout and that data. One thing I haven't mentioned is that at the moment everything just auto saves. This is just while we're building it, but effectively you'll have a sort of save and publish feature. And you might have noticed we're going to bring in a sort of draft and preview mode, which will be really, really useful. Yeah, I think those are the main things to comment on. I also want to try and explain how this links in with existing Siteglide, existing Site Builder, and your own workflow. So this section here is actually just a Site Builder layout. So I showed it briefly here. I literally installed it from Site Builder to the site, and then I copied that code and I put it into a new section so that it appears in here. So obviously you can't edit that section there's no content to edit, but you can work with your existing way of building things as well as this new way. And obviously if you went and updated your web app list view to remove those 2 bits, you could put them into the new section and have them editable in here. I hope that makes sense, but effectively like the fields, you could have those 2 fields appear and editable within this tool. So quite a bit there. There's a few, there's another type of testimonial layout that's using the list concept again. And then I think I've just got one more, just showing that you can have completely different types of layouts. Obviously, it just depends on the layouts that either you've built or that we've built and put in a library for you to use. If you want to add a new section, there's a little blue button that appears anywhere. If you want, let's say we go to the top, and we want we want to add something in after the first section. You then have this UI. This is very recent and still work in progress, but this is where we can really start to expand on Siteglide functionality and pull it in. So things like forms, e-commerce, all of that kind of stuff can end up being available to you right here in the builder. You'll notice that it took a second to load the thumbnails. They're actually dynamically generated based on your sections and your layout. So if you've themed up your Flowbyte site to look like sort of pink and purple and for a dentist, let's say, it would actually create the screenshots based on your style, because what it's going to do is it's going to load that section, render it, take a screenshot and put it into here. So it's a very powerful way of like showing your, making it easy and visually easy for the customer to know which sections to include. They can go and view those sections as a full section, and then you can insert it into the page. So just flicking through, what one haven't we used yet? I think we've done all of these, but let's just put that in to prove the point. So let's put it into here. Again, it hasn't done the items because it doesn't have any yet, but the second you start adding those items, it will start to look like the layout. That's probably everything to show for now on the UI side of things. Very happy to show the code side of it and how you'd manage sections and stuff, but I thought it's probably a good place to break off and catch my breath at the moment. Just looking at the comments, thanks Lachlan. Lachlan said this is great. Any questions? I appreciate I've covered quite a bit.
That looks nice. Means is this feature for all the themes, including Bootstrap 5 and all?
Sorry, is it only for Flowbyte or? Sorry, Sunil, could you say that again?
Yeah, no. Is this feature, Studio feature, that content editing feature for Bootstrap 5 theme too?
So this is the bit I haven't explained yet, is effectively we're trying to set this up so that you can have whatever you want as your code base, whether it's Bootstrap, Tailwind, Flowbyte, something off Theme Forest, whatever you want to use, you have control over the code base and how it works with this editor. So effectively, it uses the same concept as normal pages where you've got a page template. You'll see here, it's on a template. You set up your template, whether that's Bootstrap or whatever you want, and then all you have to do is make your layouts work with the editor, so structured content effectively. If you set them up the right way, they will appear in this list and they will work with this sidebar and editor. So yes, we want to provide a Bootstrap library, a Flowbyte Tailwind library, and we want to provide themes and templates as well as a library of more sections. So there'll be a lot out of the box that just works. You'll be able to create your own, and there's also AI tools that can help create the sections for you and automate the metadata side of it, which I can show in a second.
So essentially, it will pull everything that we've designed the site. It's got custody. Obviously, it's got fonts, it's got colors, it's got different this, that, and the other. It will pull that through to this end and replicate what we've done. So the client can say, well, I want this section, this section, this section. They just essentially build their own pages based on what we've done.
Yeah, I mean, it'll work exactly the same way sites work now in that sense. Like you in normal pages, you have a page template, you have your own CSS and everything. The difference is you'll just have a far better editing experience that's structured. But yes, it'll work. I mean, yeah, work exactly the same way.
Cool. So how do we do it then?
Yes, I'll show you the code side in just a second. Anything else anybody wanted to ask before I do? Trying to work out what's best. Okay, let's jump into the code side. So essentially, you have templates and pages as normal, but these sections are what makes this all work. So it looks a little scary at first, but you have something called metadata that defines the.
I think you're only sharing your.
Oh, sorry. Apologies. I will stop and thanks, Josh. I'll share entire screen and jump. Yeah, so I'll just go down to the layout first, actually. So this is effectively a normal Flowbyte section. It's the team one that we were just looking at. Yeah, so it's this layout. It is literally the Flowbyte section, and I can go and grab one in a minute and we can do a demo of turning a static section from the internet or from ChatGPT or whatever you like into one of these layouts. But effectively, that's the section that you would get. All you have to do is replace the static content. So this would have had text in there saying title or whatever the layout had. You're just going to replace it with some tags. So in this case, a bit like you do a web app layout, it's almost identical. In fact, you can convert a web app layout into one of these layouts very, very quickly. So you're going to put your tag in there for whatever you want. You can call this title 2, you could call it name. You can define your internal structure for how you're going to build out these sections. You do the same for any other fields that you want. So that's the p tag. And then where it gets really clever is things like blocks, where you can run loops effectively. So you saw earlier that I was able to add a second button. The way we do that is exactly the same as the kind of list view web app concept, where you run a loop of a certain piece of code, and you can just have multiple iterations of that. So that handles blocks. I think the most valuable one to show you and explain in a little detail is the lists. So the way lists work is, again, you run a for loop, you have your list item layout, which is just in this case, it's an A tag with an image in there and then some text. So you've got the name, the title, and an image URL. That is all controlling one of these items. And as you add more items in, let me just go to it quickly. As you add more items in via the UI, if it's static, or via web apps, if it's dynamic, it will automatically pull those items out. So very simple, really, to write this. You're just putting variables in to a loop if you're choosing to do a loop. The bit that will be new and that we'll obviously help with training and everything, training documents, documentation, videos, is matching that up to the metadata. And once you get it once, it's exactly the same for everything else. So you give it a name so that that appears in the UI to insert something. So that's called team. We just rename that to 2. Save that. Try and insert a section. That's now team 2. So you've got total control over what appears here. There'll be certain things that we add in to help structure it even further, like and classify it. A good example of that is category. So the reason that appeared in this team area here is simply just that we've set a category on it of team, and you've got total control over how you manage your categories. And then aside from that, you've got, let's look at the lists bit first. The only annoying thing of this is it reorders everything in a slightly random way. So it's showing lists first, then it's showing blocks, and then it's showing fields. In an ideal world, you would show fields, then lists as an example, or blocks and then lists. But all you've got to do is look for the bit you're trying to edit. So let's have a quick look at fields first, actually, because they're the simplest. All you're doing is defining a field. So you're defining it with an ID and calling it title, which is what makes it appear. It's what defines the tag. I'll show you that again in a second. The type is saying what type of field is it, so it gives you a text box. The label is what appears here. And then the default is what appears if you haven't put any content in yet. So when I added that section, it had that content in there. You can control what people would see. Again, we'll have loads of these available for you that you don't have to build yourself. But if you want to build them and edit them, then this is how you do it. Again, there's another field called content. So this whole field section, so this content here, those 2 sections are simply defined by the enabling it to appear here with the metadata and putting it into the actual page and into the layout using this here. All you've got to do is map those 2 things, where effectively you decide the name of your field, you give it some metadata, and you put your tag in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. For a non-developer, that is absolutely, yeah.
I've found it incredibly easy to work with, which I think, I'm not able to do. I do struggle with certain things in Liquid and web app list views and detail views. I find this much simpler a concept, and you've got everything all in one place. So I do think it will be quite easy to follow. let me just do one more example of building one, I think. That might help a little bit more. So if in sections, so I'm in CLI at the moment. One thing, important thing to say is we will be building a UI to build these sections and customize them. You won't have to do it in CLI, and you won't have to write all of this stuff yourself, but I'm just showing you how it works. And if you do want to, obviously our USP, our focus is to make things possible first, then make them easy, but then always have that ability to customize, get under the hood, as Devon likes to word it, and customize everything via CLI and code. And that's the sort of secret sauce, really, is not being stuck and not having limitations. So yes, we'll just quickly do it via CLI, but obviously this process I'm about to show you, you'll soon be able to do via UI. So we'll do new file, we'll call it townhall.liquid. Got an empty file. I'm then going to go off to Flowpipe as an example, but this really could be anywhere. And let's get a feature section. I won't do that because icons are a bit annoying, so we'll just go for a normal content section for now. Let's grab this one. It's very simple, but it proves the point. Copy that code, drop that into here. So obviously all I've done at the moment is dropped in the code. What we would then need to do is do our metadata. So for that, you would just need, I'll copy the whole lot and then I can show you what you would use and what you get rid of. Drop that in. We can get rid of lists entirely because we're not doing a list on this one. Let's not have a block either. Let's keep this one really simple. Let's call it content 2, because I think I've got one called content 1. And let's have a field called title and a field called content. So just down here, all we would need to do is in that H2 is do title. Sorry, list.title. And copy that, it's probably easiest. And then here we'll do this description. And I'll have another one. And this is content. We'll just do that for now, just to keep it simple. So we've got title and content. Let's just grab one more quickly. Do it as description. The only thing you have to be very careful with metadata is just it's very fussy about the indenting and everything. But again, we'll help you do this with a UI for it. And we'll just do description there. So I should be able to say that. I have rushed a bit. Hopefully I've got it right, but let's put it in the town hall category. And let's give that a try. I have rushed.
Just the label on description as well, line 12.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, so let's make that description. Let's make it capital D. Thanks. And save that. If Josh isn't saying anything, then potentially I've got it right, which is good to know. And if we go back to here, we can try and insert a new section and we go to content. Just double check that has gone up there, town hall. But yeah, the metadata can be a bit temperamental. Let's just make sure we've saved it. I'll just, for the sake of it, I'll just load the page again.
I've got a feeling it's that tab on line 10 and 13, if you just replace those with spaces instead. So like, yeah, and go back one more and do spaces. If that fixes it.
Yeah, apologies everyone. I'll just be a second. If not, we'll use one I made earlier, which is probably a more sensible thing to do in the first place. it doesn't matter. What I'll do quickly is from another site. I've got one called content, or let's try.
So just to clarify, the reason why that's not appearing at the moment is because we don't have validation for sections just yet through the CLI. So the CLI currently doesn't let you know if there is an issue with your YAML, but that will be fixed in a coming CLI update, basically.
You'll see here that there's now one appearing called feature 2. It looks completely different. I'm going to put that in. Apologies, I haven't. Let me just. Yeah, obviously we're still getting this. This is fully set up, but if we go to here, we've now got one called feature 2. It looks completely different because this has got a completely unique or different styling on it. So you can control your styling globally in the template, or you can also obviously apply your own styling to the section itself. So that's got its own classes and styles, but it works in exactly the same way. So we can. Yeah, you've got total control of building our own sections effectively and then managing them in here. So I'm to think that's probably everything to show. We'll keep making the way of managing it easier. We'll try and automate as much as possible. I think the only bit, I'd love to hear some feedback, but the only bit that I thought would be frustrating with this model, or the only possible question of whether you go this route, is having to create these layouts and set up the metadata and the tags. But it's actually very, very quick and simple. It replaces the need to do web app layouts in some cases, but also we're finding that we can automate that process for you, especially when we build the UI route. So I don't think there's any reason not to do it. If you are worried about customization of the look and feel, obviously a bigger library of layouts is going to help, but also these settings are going to have help with control over how you can customize the page. Covered quite a bit there. Any questions, any feedback?
I think it'll work really well. I think it's just changing the way that we already build stuff in sections anyway, so it's just lifting that content and making it dynamic in terms of a page layout to make it easier for the client to be able to do stuff. And whether we'd run it on the home page, probably not, because they tend to be more complicated than the inner pages from our designs. But yeah, I mean, there may be sections of the home page we would do it on, but sometimes it gets a little bit more complicated, especially if you've got sliders going on and bits and pieces that I'm assuming you just create the fields for image and then just add. You can change and then change the images, and yeah, interesting.
And the great thing about it is that how far you take the flexibility and customization is completely up to you. So if you only want to allow the client to edit the content themselves, you just surface those fields essentially, and you don't create any settings or stuff like that, so that they still need to come to you to make any greater changes to it essentially.
Yeah. So how would it deal with background images and things like that? So an image is set as a background as opposed, and they want to replace that.
Yeah. It doesn't care at all.
Okay, fine.
You're deciding where that content goes, essentially. So we're providing a framework for getting data into the section, and you just say this is where it goes. And so instead of putting it in an image tag, you put it in a background URL, and that's it.
Because sometimes Tailwind, you have to spin it up again, apparently, just to make it come in.
Yeah, exactly. So we're coming up with solutions for that, and we've actually developed a solution for compiling Tailwind on the fly without having to pull it down locally as well. So that might be a potential solution as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Cool.
I think that's a key point that Josh has made. It's hard for us to know what the limits are with this, because as Josh says, it doesn't care where you put things. There's no limit on what the editor can do. It's really down to what you put into the layout and into the pages. So it'll be really interesting to see what people build with it, and yeah, how far you take it really.
The other cool thing about it, and this obviously isn't in the product just yet, but because we have control over the way that the sections are rendered, it does mean that we can add automatic caching to sections. It means that we're able to add things like secure zones per section, for instance. And so the flexibility that we get from it is really powerful. We provide some really useful out of the box tools to improve performance and stuff like that. Stuff like image resizing on upload as well is good, and that can help you reduce your storage size.
While I remember before I forget, in terms of what's coming next, the things that we're still working on, Siteglide functionality obviously is pretty important. Being able to put forms in, modules, zones, yeah, whatever you might want to work with, we want to get that functionality working. We're effectively able to leverage all that we've done with Site Builder so far. So what I showed you when I grabbed the testimonial one, anything that's already in Site Builder will soon be available in that that drawer that popped in for dynamic content. So working on that first and Siteglide functionality. Next up would be rich text editor. So the editor that we've put in with AI for web apps and various places around Siteglide will add into this as well. So effectively the client could generate their own AI-driven content if you want them to. You can turn that feature on and off within this editor as well, and they can obviously format all their text. Draft mode, that's a big one. The section builder, I think that's a huge one. We obviously need and want to encourage easy extension of the layouts and the sections. And then finally is themes and templates. Hard for me to get my head around that at the moment, and I think this has been an ongoing discussion when people have been considering Site Builder and Flowbyte. Is, are you building one site, or are you building a library and a design system you can use for other sites? When you start to do that, and when you start to do these structured layouts and potentially use them across multiple sites, you can potentially save yourselves huge amounts of time with building new sites, maintaining existing sites. So we want to give you the ability to handle your own templates, your own themes, your own sections, and use them across multiple sites. Have it so that one code base, say Flowbyte, can be customized theme-wise very, very easily. And Josh has also been looking at, well, having a way to switch out a theme quite easily with this editor. It's all the infrastructure set up so that you can switch your theme quite easily. So there's a lot in the works that is just going to make it more powerful, easier to use, quicker to build. And that's without really focusing too much on the potentials of AI.
So in terms of forms, would you consider giving people the ability from that editor to be able to create a form in the same style that the site already has? Because that's one of the biggest problems. The customer says, oh, we need a form, so they do it, but then obviously we've got to then go in and style it to then put it on the site for them. So if that's...
To cover that question more generally, we're considering how much of Siteglide can end up being in one UI. So a good example at the moment is things like images. We've obviously got File Manager modal. That's an obvious easy one. But yeah, we could easily have it so that if you're on a dynamic list, we could potentially let you edit your web app items here, or let you create things like forms and stuff within the editor. You've got to start from a UX perspective, start weighing up, is it better to send people off to the right designated place, or are there certain things that they can do without leaving the page? So I think where possible, we'll try and bring as much as we can in, but sometimes you might also have a new tab open or something and go and do some work somewhere else. Does that, or was your question more specific to how forms work, do you think?
Possibly. I mean, sometimes it's forms are great and they work really well, but sometimes there's no copy form at the moment, which really does need to be put on there. It's like, so, well, I want the same form as I've got already. I just need to copy it and just insert it on a different page because we need to flow through from a landing page or whatever. I just wanted to say exactly the same thing, so I just need to copy it and then insert it. So whether it's just a insert form and then you pick the form ID from the, like you would do from the current builder, and it just inserts it into the module, then great. But sorry, I'm just kind of thinking on the fly now as opposed to
No, that's
or general.
that ties in with, we've been thinking about Toolbox effectively. This is very useful, but we're essentially reimagining this into the new UI. So yes, you should be able, and also from Site Builder, actually, you can handle forms. It's one of the most powerful things of Site Builder, I'd say, having these dynamic forms where if you update the fields, it updates the layout automatically. So yeah, we're trying to combine all of the good things we already have into the new UI effectively. But there should be no reason why you couldn't insert a new section under the forms category where you pick your layout and then you define which form it is and your settings, which is exactly how I think when you do this, it's asking you which form you want to use. So we essentially want this concept from Site Builder dropped into here.
And the great thing about that is that the form layout then becomes agnostic to the form itself, because at the moment it's intrinsically linked to, say, a contact form, and you'd have to duplicate and copy it. Whereas with this, you just have the one, you have your settings and your field mappings, and that's it essentially.
Exactly how this works, yeah.
Obviously, as much feedback. If you have any ideas of what you'd like to see in this, things that would make your life easier, please do let us know, and we'll consider getting that in.
Probably just need to get it up and get it tested and test it on our site and see, or test it on the trial site and say, actually, it would be really good if it could do this, 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 and this. Because I think we'll be able to tell until we actually start.
Yeah, I've been keen to get it to the stage where we can actually try and use it on building a site or building a template or something like that. So we're pretty much there now, a little bit more, I think. Well, I remember there's one other, linking to your point, John, and just generally the dynamicness of all of this. I think we'll need different areas of the UI effectively. So obviously we're in pages at the moment, but essentially you'll need the same thing for templates. You'll probably want the same thing for sections, to build and manage sections. I think in the sections one, maybe not even, maybe it's another one. You need a way to make one of these global or like reusable. I can't think. You make it a component or something like that, so that if you know that this is an area that you want to use across the site, you can put it in a library and reuse it exactly as is, rather than having to set up the content every time. So there's all that kind of stuff. It's like it's a bit of a Rubik's cube of understanding how to structure it and how to go about like managing your content, your structured content effectively.
Yeah, essentially you'd need a section, a module called library or section library or something, and you just have everything in there that you could possibly, well, in theory, possibly want. And the client comes to us and say, actually, I need a section that looks like this. Can you do one? Then they can just drop it in wherever they like and
yeah,
go from there.
So we've already got the concept here of having some that are installed versus some that are not installed. So you could also have some that are like globally defined, and you can insert it with the settings so that it's reusable across multiple pages. So yeah, we've already got the architecture. We just need to, flesh out those kind of use cases.
So are you saying, Luke, that this UE is specific for pages because that's where you started? So these are the things that are, so ideally you would want the options available for templates then, so you can have you can pull them into the relevant template.
You need to be able to design your templates as well. At the moment, it's that header and footer you can't edit. They're just there. So yeah, we want to give you a place to manage a template and to probably build and manage sections as well. Yeah.
I think I've mentioned as well, a lot of the stuff that I do is the user submitted items. So people who have not got access to the dashboard, is there a way of using this rather than build that for the back end and something different for the front end to use this for the front end as well?
Do you mean actually having that editor in a front end secure zone?
Something like that, yeah, but not the full whack.
Yeah.
Because it was literally it'll be like a business wants to update their details on the community website, so we just give them access to that rather than the whole shebang.
We've had a long internal discussion about where this should live and whether it can be front end or just back end. In theory, because of the structured content, we've actually got another site that has its own front end editor that works very, very similar to this, because that client literally just wants to only allow their staff to edit text, nothing else. So that's a very easy kind of editor to put in place. So yeah, we can definitely take the concept, but it probably will need to be like its own separate UI almost.
Yeah.
I think, Josh, if I'm right, the challenges there are accessing Siteglide functionality. So as long as all you're doing is editing content, it's not really a problem. But if you want to start inserting Siteglide functionality, really that needs to be back end for security reasons and all sorts of reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. And we're hooking into core Siteglide functionality, i.e. File manager and stuff like that. So it'd be a case of we'd have to duplicate and recreate that for the front end essentially.
Which
so,
I think I think for very complex or for big portals and communities, I think that is a worthwhile feature. But I think for most websites, you'd probably just lock down the back end. We don't have any limits on admin users on the platform, so you'd give people back end access and just make the experience feel as seamless as possible, I guess. Good. Yeah, well, wanted to get sort of give everybody an update. We, as I think you said, John, we're at a stage almost where it's play with it, try and break it, work out what we need to do with it. So feedback is going to be really crucial in the next months, weeks, and months to turn this into what it could be. Really, it's a great start. And a big thank you to Josh and the team for putting up with my ideas on the vision. We really pulled it together very quickly, and it's the right infrastructure to work with now. So yeah, we'll keep you updated. We'll let you know when there's something to play around with, and I think an exciting year ahead, coupling that with the new stack opportunities as well. I'm conscious of time. The only other thing I was going to mention was roadmap and checking that people are aware of it and happy with it. Very quickly, just to make sure it's being covered off. We have some. Yeah, so we released the custom admin menus in February. Annoyingly, the done column sorts in the wrong order, so the more recently done stuff is further down, unfortunately. But I've raised that as a feature request. Custom pages, custom fields. That's a really useful feature anyway. That's yeah, very, very close. And then Site API, which this fits under, it's been a huge undertaking and has gone on for longer than we would like, but that's almost there. And then Zapier can be updated based on that. And then yeah, there's some little sort of other ones that we're still working through and want to release as soon as we can. I know little features like quick enable disable would be really beneficial. So we're working through those as fast as we can. We have had some infrastructure stuff that had to take priority. Getting the new stack ready is quite important, and then we can put that aside and focus in on some of these. I would still probably say that while it has been helpful having, I'll try and show you as an example, but people filling in these sort of questions of how important is it, when do you need it, that kind of stuff. More of that would be extremely helpful in terms of ensuring we know what to focus on. Having said that, we also need to we're still trying to get better at acknowledging and showing where we are with managing those items through the roadmap. any questions on that? I'm conscious of everybody's time, but any questions on roadmap or the new tool?
So just the original list that we gave to you back in whenever it was, 2024. How are you getting on with that? Because there were things on there to do with e-commerce and various other bits and pieces, and like categories appearing in the sitemap generator and things like that are quite still urgent in terms of bits and pieces.
Right, I'm going to catch up with Matt on that, and I'll probably drop you a message in your Discord channel. I know that we've been working through some e-commerce, I don't know what the word is really, improvements to do with like if people leave the process too early, and they've been a nightmare to try and identify what the actual use case was. So Matt's been working on that quite heavily, and I think we can give you an update on that immediately. And yeah, I'll come back to you on those specific items. Yeah.
Thanks, Luke.
No worries. Anybody else? Any questions on the new roadmap tool or anything that's really you want to make sure we're aware of that's important to you? Good. Great. Thank you very much for your time. Apologies, it's been a bit longer than normal, but quite a lot to talk about and show off. So yeah, thank you everybody. Anything else before we end the call? Okay, brilliant. Thank you everybody, and speak soon.
Thanks, Luke.
Thanks,
Really interesting. Good stuff.
Cheers.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.